There is a silent power hidden inside you right now, an untapped reservoir of clarity, discipline, and genius. And all it asks for is just 1 hour of your day. Most people never discover it. Today you will. Ladies and gentlemen, as you listen now, remember this: the greatest frontier left on Earth is not outer space. It is the unexplored territory of the human mind. And the remarkable truth is that most of us are using only a fraction of it. Not because we lack intelligence, but because we lack intention. There is a simple practice, one so ordinary in appearance that people overlook its extraordinary power. It is the 1 hour habit. 1 hour each day reserved for your mind alone, no noise, no rush, no interruptions. Just you, your thoughts, and the quiet work of shaping the life you intend to live. In that hour, you begin to awaken the 90% of mental power that lies dormant, waiting for you to summon it. You will find ideas rising to the surface, clarity unfolding in ways you once believed were reserved only for the gifted or the fortunate. But the truth is that clarity belongs to anyone who prepares a space for it. For years I have said, we become what we think about. Yet very few people take the time to think deliberately. They let life think for them, and in doing so they surrender the wheel of their own destiny. But when you give your mind a sacred hour each day, an uninterrupted meeting with your future, you reclaim the direction of your life. Use this hour wisely. Read something that nourishes the intellect. Reflect on your goals not as distant dreams but as active blueprints. Write down your thoughts, your plans, your questions. Ask yourself where you want to go and who you want to become. Let your mind work upon your life the way a sculptor works upon stone, slowly, deliberately, carefully. You see, the mind never responds to speed, but it always responds to stillness. In the quiet hour, you will find an inner voice waiting to guide you. It is not loud, but it is wise. And once you begin to hear it, life will never seem confusing again. Your mind is the most powerful force you possess, yet most of it remains idle, not because it lacks brilliance, but because it lacks deliberate invitation. Most people move through the world unaware that within them lies an astonishing reservoir of ability. Ideas that have never been explored, insights that could change the course of their lives, strengths they've never summoned, simply because they've never taken the time to awaken them. It's remarkable, almost tragic, how the average person will go to great lengths to increase their income, improve their circumstances, or change their life situation, while overlooking the one instrument that determines all of those outcomes, the mind that shapes them. When we say that most of the mind remains unused, we speak not of intelligence, but of attention. The human mind left unattended drifts. It scatters itself into trivial concerns, idle distractions, and the noise of modern living. But when the mind is directed, calmly, consistently, purposefully, it becomes something extraordinary. It sharpens. It expands. It begins to reveal its hidden chambers like rooms in a great house that you'd forgotten you own. And each of those rooms contains ideas, talents, solutions, and levels of clarity that can reshape the entire course of your life. You see, the mind is not activated by accident. It is awakened through intent. And the intent begins the moment you decide to give it the attention it deserves. When you treat your mind as the primary asset of your life, greater than any possession, more influential than any circumstance, you begin to unlock abilities that were always there, quietly waiting for you to notice them. You begin to realize that your mind is not something to simply carry through life, it is something to cultivate, to sharpen, to elevate every single day. Consider this: every breakthrough humanity has ever known, every invention, every work of art, every advancement of civilization began in the quiet solitude of a human mind that was used, not neglected. The same architecture exists within you. The same capacity, the same potential for insight, for creativity, for transformation, resides in the very mind you live with every day. But it responds only to one thing: deliberate engagement. Most people never discover the depth of their own mental power because they spend their lives reacting instead of reflecting, consuming instead of creating, rushing instead of thinking. Yet the mind does not bloom under pressure, it blossoms under attention. And when you give it that attention, even for a short, consistent period each day, it begins to reveal the richness that has always existed beneath the surface, waiting for the moment you decide to explore it. A single hour of deliberate focus can awaken abilities you forgot you had, not because they were ever truly lost, but because they fell asleep beneath the weight of hurried living. We live in a world where the average day is fractured into fragments, messages, interruptions, noise, obligations, all tugging at the mind until its true power becomes diluted. Yet when you dedicate one quiet, uninterrupted hour to a single purpose, you begin to feel a profound shift. The mind, relieved of distraction, gathers itself. It sharpens. It steps forward like a loyal servant that had been waiting patiently and silently for you to call upon it with intention. Most people never experience the full strength of their own concentration. They believe focus is something that visits them at random, like a passing breeze, rather than something they can summon at will. But deliberate focus is not an accident, it is a discipline. It is the conscious decision to protect 1 hour of your life from the demands of the world, and in that hour, to place your mind upon one single direction with clarity and purpose. When you do, something remarkable happens. The scattered energy of your thoughts begins to unify. The fog lifts, ideas start connecting, problems unravel. Creativity returns like a river unclogged. What makes 1 hour so powerful is not its length, but its purity. For 1 hour, you are no longer divided. You are no longer responding to the world. You are creating within it. And in that creation, dormant abilities rise to the surface. Skills you believed were gone begin to reawaken. Confidence returns as you witness the mind working with a strength you may have forgotten you were capable of. For the human mind, when allowed to operate without interference, becomes a formidable instrument of genius. Think of the great thinkers, inventors, writers, and leaders of history. They did not possess superhuman intelligence, they possessed superhuman intention. They gave their minds the gift of uninterrupted focus, and in return their minds gave them ideas that would shape the world. You have within you that same capacity, the same architecture of thought, the same potential for insight, the same ability to reach beyond the ordinary and touch the extraordinary is present in your own mind at this very moment. All it requires is the invitation of one focused hour. In that hour, you reclaim mental territory you didn't realize you had lost. You rediscover abilities that had been lying dormant, and you begin to build a relationship with your mind that is deliberate, powerful, and deeply aware of what you are truly capable of when you give yourself the quiet space to focus deliberately. Environment shapes thought. Control your surroundings to control your mind. This simple truth has guided the greatest thinkers of every age, yet most people drift through their days unaware of the silent influence their environment has upon them. The human mind is impressionable, far more than we care to admit. It absorbs the atmosphere around it the way a sponge absorbs water. The sights, the sounds, the conversations, even the subtle emotional tone of a room, all of it contributes to the climate in which your thoughts take shape. And because our thoughts determine our direction, the environment in which they are born becomes one of the most powerful forces in our lives. If you were to place a seed in poor soil, you would not blame the seed when it fails to grow. You would adjust the soil. Yet many people blame themselves when their minds fail to produce clarity, inspiration, or discipline, never realizing that they are trying to think, plan, and create in an environment hostile to thought. Noise, clutter, disorganization, and constant interruption form a kind of mental smog that dims the sharpness of the mind and dulls the spirit. But the moment you take control of your surroundings, you begin to notice a remarkable transformation. The mind awakens, it strengthens. It begins to work for you rather than against you. A controlled environment is not simply a matter of tidiness or silence. It is a space designed to support the person you intend to become. It is a physical reflection of your inner priorities. Perhaps it is a room free from distraction, a desk that invites focus, a corner filled with books that elevate your thinking, or even a small, quiet space where you can be alone with your thoughts. In such an environment, ideas breathe. Reflection deepens. The mind feels safe to explore, to question, to organize the loose threads of your life into something coherent and meaningful. This controlled environment is also a boundary, a statement to the world that your mind and your time are worthy of protection. And once you begin guarding your surroundings, you will find that your thoughts become more orderly as well. Problems that once felt overwhelming reveal simpler solutions. Goals that once seemed distant move closer as your thinking clarifies. The mind mirrors the environment that holds it, and when that environment is calm, intentional, and aligned with your purpose, your thoughts follow the same path. When you take charge of your surroundings, you reclaim authority over your inner world. You discover that your environment is not a passive backdrop to your life, but an active participant in shaping who you become. And the moment you understand this, you begin designing your life from the outside in, crafting a space that strengthens your mind and supports the full expression of the potential waiting within you. Dominant thought is not wishful thinking. It is purposeful thinking. It is the practice of holding your most important ideas at the center of your awareness each day. You think about your goals not as vague hopes, but as realities under construction. You think about your abilities not as fixed traits, but as expanding capacities. You think about your future not as a distant dream, but as a direction toward which every thought is steering you. In doing so, you send powerful instructions to your subconscious mind, which then begins working tirelessly to bring those instructions to life. When your dominant thoughts are aligned with your highest aspirations, you begin to notice opportunities that were always there but previously invisible. You see solutions where before you saw obstacles. You feel a sense of inner strength where previously there was hesitation. You realize that your thoughts have been shaping your life all along, and now, at last, you are shaping your thoughts with intention. Your dominant thoughts determine the direction of your life, not by force, but by the quiet, persistent shaping of your inner world. The human mind is always creating, always building, always drawing toward itself those conditions that match what it dwells upon most. This is not mysticism. This is the simple, observable truth behind every achievement and every failure. A person who thinks predominantly of problems gradually finds themselves surrounded by more of them. A person who thinks about opportunity, growth, and possibility begins to notice doors where others see only walls. Life arranges itself around the patterns of our thinking the way iron filings arrange themselves around a magnet. Most people never pause long enough to consider what their dominant thoughts really are. They believe they are thinking about what they want, when in truth they are thinking mostly about what they fear, what they resent, or what they wish they could avoid. The mind does not distinguish between desire and dread. It only recognizes attention. And the more attention you give a thought, the more power it gains over the direction of your life. This is why so many drift without purpose, their thoughts roam without guidance, and their life follows suit. But the moment you take hold of your thinking, calmly, intentionally, and consistently, you begin steering your life with clarity. You begin choosing which ideas deserve your energy and which do not. You start noticing the subtle pull of your thoughts, how a single worry can color an entire day, or how a single inspired idea can transform your attitude. It becomes clear that your mind is not a place for chance, but a tool for direction. Spend time with thoughts that elevate you. Think about your goals not vaguely, but vividly, with detail and certainty. Picture yourself becoming the person capable of achieving them. The mind responds to such thinking by seeking paths, solutions, and opportunities that align with the image you hold. And just as surely, when you allow negative assumptions or limiting beliefs to linger, your mind will arrange your life to match those as well. You do not need to force results. You only need to choose your thoughts with care. For what you hold in your mind begins to take shape in your surroundings, and the person who learns to discipline their thinking learns to discipline their destiny. As your dominant thoughts rise in quality, so does the quality of your life, for the two are forever linked. Routine beats inspiration. Showing up for 1 hour daily builds unstoppable momentum. This is a principle so simple that most people step over it in search of something louder, brighter, more dramatic. They wait for the spark, the perfect moment, the rush of inspiration that will carry them forward. But inspiration is a guest, routine is a companion. Inspiration may visit you once in a while, but routine stays with you every day, guiding your steps long after excitement has faded. And the individual who learns to rely on routine instead of emotion becomes a force difficult to stop. The human mind responds beautifully to consistency. When you sit down each day, regardless of mood, regardless of circumstances, and dedicate yourself to one focused hour, something remarkable begins to take shape. Your mind recognizes the pattern, it begins to prepare itself. Thoughts organize with greater ease. Clarity arrives more quickly. The very act of returning to your discipline becomes a signal, a quiet instruction to your inner world that it is time to work, time to grow, time to stretch into new territory. Where others wait to feel ready, you become ready by showing up. Routine builds momentum the way drops of water carve stone, not through force, but through persistence. The first few days may feel ordinary. The results may seem small. But each hour, each session, each deliberate return to your purpose compounds. You begin to notice that tasks which once felt difficult become approachable. Ideas that once felt unreachable now emerge with surprising ease. Confidence grows not from flashes of brilliance, but from the quiet knowledge that you can depend on yourself to return to the work again and again. In a world that glorifies sudden breakthroughs, it is easy to overlook the power of steady progress. But breakthroughs are rarely sudden. They are the visible result of countless unseen hours. They emerge from the soil of routine. The musician who practices daily, the thinker who reflects daily, the leader who plans daily. Each develops a momentum that eventually separates them from the rest. Their progress appears effortless not because it is easy, but because routine has made it natural. And there is something deeply liberating about not relying on the fragile emotion of inspiration. When you show up regardless of feeling, you take control of your life instead of waiting for your life to direct you. You prove to yourself that discipline, not mood, determines your destiny. Over time, the hour you once had to force becomes an hour you crave. It becomes a sanctuary, a powerful anchor in your day, a place where your mind strengthens itself through repeated engagement. Through routine, you reshape the very structure of your thinking. You build momentum not once but continually as each day stacks upon the last. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, you begin to realize that your greatest growth did not come from moments of sudden inspiration, but from the quiet, consistent act of showing up each day for the 1 hour that changes everything. What you think about consistently, you become inevitably, for the mind is a mechanism that moves in the direction of its dominant thoughts. Most people never pause to consider just how powerful this principle is. They imagine that life shapes their thoughts, but the truth is precisely the opposite. Thoughts shape life. Your outer world, in time, becomes a mirror held up to your inner, persistent patterns of thinking. And whether you are aware of it or not, your mind is working every moment, aligning your actions, your expectations, and even your opportunities with what you dwell upon most. You see, the mind does not distinguish between a thought you choose and a thought that drifts in by habit. It simply accepts what you repeatedly give your attention to and begins to build a life around it. This is why people who constantly think about problems seem to encounter them everywhere, while those who think about possibilities begin to uncover them in the most unexpected places. Thought is the architect, and life is the structure it builds. What you hold in consciousness becomes the blueprint for your future. If you consistently think in terms of fear, you will begin moving toward fear. If you consistently think in terms of growth, your actions will align with growth. The mind has a way of arranging circumstances to match the picture you carry within it. Over time, you start behaving like the person your thoughts have sculpted. You start making decisions that reflect those inner patterns, and those decisions become your destiny. This is not mysticism, it is discipline. A person must decide what to think about just as deliberately as they decide how to spend their money or how to invest their time. Letting your thoughts run uncontrolled is like leaving a powerful engine without direction. It may run, but it will not take you where you want to go. But when you choose your dominant thoughts with intention, you take command of the steering wheel of your life. Imagine the difference between a mind filled with doubt and one filled with purpose. One drags itself through each day, expecting little, noticing little, creating little. The other wakes with direction, scanning the world for openings, solutions, and opportunities. Both minds are powerful, the only difference is the picture they hold. And because the mind faithfully carries out whatever it is given, the results are as consistent as gravity. When you understand that your thoughts are not private opinions but the seeds of your future, you begin choosing them with care and clarity, for you know that whatever occupies your mind consistently will one day occupy your life. Most people waste their mental energy in scattered noise. Clarity is created, not found. The average person moves through life in a state of constant mental fragmentation, pulled in every direction by distractions that disguise themselves as necessities. Modern life, with all its conveniences, has created a new form of invisible burden, the burden of too many inputs. The mind becomes like a room with 100 open windows, each one letting in a different draft, a different voice, a different demand. And in this whirlwind, people wonder why they feel lost, overwhelmed, or incapable of focusing long enough to change their lives. Yet the truth, simple and liberating, is that clarity does not arrive by accident. It is constructed through conscious effort. Just as one builds a house brick by brick, the human mind was never designed to thrive in chaos. It was built to flourish in order, focus, and discipline. When we allow ourselves to be constantly interrupted, constantly stimulated, constantly bombarded, we drain the very energy required for deep thought and powerful decision-making. And so the mind, tired and overstretched, retreats into patterns of confusion, hesitation, and fear. It is not that the mind lacks strength, but that its strength is scattered across too many directions at once. A beam of light can illuminate a room, but the same beam, concentrated, can cut through steel. So it is with your thoughts. When you remove the noise, when you begin closing the unnecessary windows, you invite your mind to gather itself. You create space for reflection, for insight, for original thought. Clarity is not something you wait for, it is something you cultivate by deliberately reducing mental clutter. This might mean choosing silence over entertainment, or reflection over reaction, or a single task over many half-started ones. Each choice is a statement to your mind you matter, your energy is worth conserving, your clarity is worth protecting. As the noise recedes, something remarkable happens. Thoughts that were once tangled begin to straighten. Ideas that once hid behind confusion step forward with simplicity. Problems that felt unmanageable reveal steps that were always there, waiting for you to quiet the world long enough to see them. The mind, relieved of its burden, begins to work with a strength, precision, and depth that surprises even you. You realize that clarity is not a gift reserved for the few. It is the natural state of any mind that has been cared for, shielded, and directed with intention. When you take control of the mental noise around you, you reclaim authority over your inner world. You discover that clarity is not lost. It is simply buried beneath the noise you've unknowingly allowed. And the moment you begin clearing that noise, you unlock a level of thought and power that was always waiting within you. The 1 hour habit is not about time, it's about command over your mind. Time itself is a constant, flowing at the same pace for every human being, yet the difference between a life of fulfillment and a life of frustration is rarely found in the hours themselves. It is found in the mastery of the mind during those hours. Most people believe that productivity is measured by business, by the number of tasks completed, or the length of the workday. But true achievement is not measured by the passage of minutes. It is measured by the clarity, focus, and intentionality with which you employ your mental energy. The 1 hour habit transforms a simple span of 60 minutes into a forge where the mind is strengthened, sharpened, and trained to act with purpose. When you take command of your mind for 1 hour each day, you are practicing a form of mental discipline that few ever learn. This is not about forcing the mind to think when it resists, nor is it about filling the hour with aimless activity disguised as effort. It is about deliberate engagement, the kind that cultivates awareness, organizes thoughts, and brings forward insights that remain buried when the mind is left to drift. During this hour, you exercise control over what you allow into your consciousness, and by doing so, you begin to exercise control over the very trajectory of your life. You discover that the mind, when given clear direction, becomes not merely a tool but a partner, a powerful ally in shaping reality. Most people live in reaction. They allow external events to dictate their thoughts, their emotions, and ultimately their actions. They react to interruptions, to news, to opinions, and to the endless stream of sensory input from the world around them. The 1 hour habit interrupts this cycle. It teaches the mind that it has authority, that it is capable of ruling its own focus, that it can choose what to think about and how deeply to think about it. This command over attention is not trivial. It is the difference between wandering aimlessly through life and navigating it with precision, between mediocrity and excellence, between frustration and fulfillment. It is within this concentrated hour that the dormant capabilities of your mind awaken. Creativity returns, problems unravel, clarity emerges, and a sense of control over your life grows. The hour is not long in the measure of time, but it is vast in the measure of mental and personal power. As you make this practice consistent, it compounds, building momentum that spills over into every other hour of your day. The 1 hour habit becomes the axis on which your mind turns, the anchor that steadies your thoughts, and the foundation upon which you construct the life you truly desire. Small daily disciplines compound into extraordinary results. It is one of the great secrets of success, yet one that most people overlook in their relentless pursuit of quick fixes and sudden breakthroughs. Human achievement is rarely the product of sudden inspiration or luck. It is the outcome of repeated, deliberate action over time. Every small choice, every tiny effort, every seemingly insignificant habit contributes to a trajectory that either elevates your life or diminishes it. What may appear minor today can, when practiced consistently, become monumental tomorrow. The principle is simple. Greatness is not an accident, but the sum of small, intelligent actions performed day after day. Consider the difference between someone who reads a single page of a book each day and someone who reads none. One page may seem trivial, almost meaningless, yet over a year. That is 365 pages, more than a full book. Now imagine the compounding effect over a decade. Knowledge grows, understanding deepens, perspective widens, and the person who once had no direction now possesses the insight and wisdom to navigate life with clarity. The same principle applies to every area of personal growth, financial discipline, physical fitness, skill development, and emotional intelligence. Tiny, consistent steps accumulate into a force that is unstoppable, invisible at first, yet undeniable over time. Small disciplines are powerful because they bypass the mind's tendency to resist change. Grand gestures often fail because they overwhelm the individual, sparking doubt, procrastination, or burnout. But when you focus on tiny achievable actions repeated daily, the mind accepts them without resistance. Habit becomes automatic, and the energy once spent debating whether to act is freed to accomplish more. Each repetition strengthens the mental muscle of self-discipline, creating momentum that carries forward even on days when motivation is low. It is the quiet, unglamorous work of the mind that builds resilience, character, and ultimately success. Furthermore, the compounding effect of small disciplines is magnified when paired with deliberate thought. It is not enough to act blindly. Action guided by purpose, clarity, and reflection transforms repetition into power. The ordinary becomes extraordinary. Effort that once seemed negligible now forms the foundation of achievement that others may mistake for genius, luck, or innate talent. Yet the truth remains, it is the disciplined, incremental choices made consistently that create outcomes far beyond what could have been imagined in a single day or week. The wisdom lies in understanding that you do not need to accomplish everything at once. You do not need monumental effort to create monumental results. What you need is constancy, consistency, and the recognition that the small, daily actions of today are the building blocks of the extraordinary outcomes of tomorrow. You do not need more potential. You need more awareness of the potential already inside you. It is a truth that has been overlooked by millions who spend their lives chasing success, wealth, and happiness as if these things were distant prizes hidden from view, rather than treasures lying dormant within their own minds. Every human being is born with remarkable capabilities, the ability to reason, to create, to adapt, to dream, and to act. Yet most people never fully realize these gifts, not because they are lacking, but because they fail to recognize and consciously engage what is already theirs. Potential is not a mystery. It is a reality awaiting your attention. The first step in harnessing this inner wealth is awareness. Awareness is the lens through which you view your abilities, your thoughts, and your choices. Without it, the mind drifts, energy dissipates, and talent lies untouched. Most of us wander through life in a fog of distraction, unaware that our untapped potential is quietly waiting for us to notice it, to cultivate it, to put it to use. The mind, when fully conscious of its own capacities, becomes a fertile ground for growth, insight, and achievement. It is not that you need more ability, you need to awaken to what you already possess. Once awareness takes hold, the next step is deliberate action. Potential, like a muscle, must be exercised to develop. Yet the key difference lies in intention. Action without awareness is scattered. It yields inconsistent results and often leads to frustration. But when you act with full recognition of your potential, every effort carries weight, every decision moves you closer to mastery, and every moment becomes an opportunity to expand what you are capable of achieving. The genius within you responds to focus, clarity, and purposeful practice. It rises when called upon and retreats when ignored. Equally important is the practice of reflection. To be aware of your potential is not merely to act, but to observe, to measure, and to refine. Reflect on your successes and failures alike, for each reveals something about the strengths already within you and the areas that require cultivation. The mind is a mirror, and through reflection, you see what has always been there but may have gone unnoticed. By acknowledging your latent abilities and confronting your limitations with honesty, you engage the full spectrum of what you can achieve. Ultimately, the path to success is not about acquiring new qualities or searching for hidden talent. It is about awakening to what has always existed within your own mind. When you become conscious of your potential, deliberate in your actions, and reflective in your growth, you transform latent ability into tangible achievement and ordinary effort into extraordinary results. Here is the central truth to remember, the very heart of this message. A single focused hour each day can accomplish what scattered days, weeks, and even years cannot. This hour is your compass. It is your renewal. It is the key to the 90% of your mind that patiently waits for you to knock. And now, as you listen, I invite you to begin. Not tomorrow, not next week. Today. Give yourself 1 hour, just one, and guard it with your life. Because it will give you more life than you could ever imagine. Start now. Start small. But start with intention. Your future is waiting for the person you are ready to become. And so, as we draw this journey to a close, remember this: the power you seek has never been outside of you. It has been quietly waiting, dormant, patient, and ready, inside the vast landscape of your mind. 1 hour of focused attention, deliberate action, and unwavering discipline each day can awaken that dormant power, revealing clarity, creativity, and strength you may have long forgotten. The small daily habits, the environment you cultivate, the awareness of your own potential, all these forces compound quietly, invisibly, yet with unstoppable momentum. The choice is yours to continue letting life dictate your direction, or to seize control of your mind and, with it, your destiny. Take that hour. Protect it. Honor it. Step into the life you were meant to live, for the untapped 90% of your mind is ready, waiting, and capable of far more than you have ever imagined.